Hello, everybody. Welcome to Social Security Talk. I'm your host in red. My name is Marc Kiner. You all know me by now. My partner, Jim Blair, is out fishing someplace, I am certain. Our special guest today is Ian Koteles. He is with Dietrich. Dietrich's been around for 42 years. And what's exciting, first of all, Ian is a vice president of strategic relationships and a whole lot more than that, and he'll explain more of what he does for Dietrich. But Ian, the reason why I wanted to have you on our webinar is because you're in a niche that most advisors are not in. Is that correct? Can you explain that in a little more detail?
Yeah, is it niche or is it niche?
Niche.
I like niche. We'll go with niche.
Okay. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Yes, we are a niche service. Like you said, been around 42 years. We're the pioneer provider of pension risk services, pension risk transfer services. Formerly would have been referred to as terminal funding. But we come in and we help typically CFO level, sometimes HR relationships understand where their pension risk is. Where is financial leakage happening within the pension plan? Where can we alleviate costs and expense? PBGC premiums, for example, have been, skyrocketing for 10 years now. Where are those costs going? Are they improving our funding or aren't they? And likely they're not. So how do we fix that?
So basically, Ian, you want to work with advisors out there that have clients that have defined benefit plans. That's kind of your bread and butter?
Correct. Yeah. If we're not working with plan sponsors directly, we are working with intermediaries of retirement plans. Could be advisors, CPAs, legal counsel, TPAs. They'll often reach out to us with questions or maybe want to understand. Maybe their clients are interested in learning more about succession planning for the pension plan. Succession
planning. That's an interesting term to use for a pension plan. So basically what you guys want to do is kind of remove the financial and administrative burden of the sponsors of these defined benefit plans. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Which makes a lot of sense. I'm sure it's pretty costly to keep a defined benefit plan going, and also a lot of administration goes on to continue the activity of defined benefit plans. How many percentage basis of the Fortune 500 companies would you say have defined benefit plans?
We're actually working more in the small to mid market.
Okay.
But to give you an idea of the number of defined benefit plans out there, and if we ran it by assets in the plans, we're looking at over $3 trillion that are out there in defined benefit plans.
Okay.
They may not still be active. They may have been frozen, partially frozen.
Okay.
So although not still accruing benefits, they are still growing in liability. And so that's the key thing is we want to come in and recognize that we look at a lot of plans. We'll look at a 10-year history of a plan and notice that liability's grown, 2 times over 10 years.
Okay.
What are we going to do about that?
Okay. Got it. And as the plan grows, the costs also grow, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and there are a lot of different things to look at when you're looking at that cost growth. In some cases, you might have participant numbers drop, but still have liability growth. How is that happening? So we kind of just want to look at a lot of different levers within the plan, put it all together on one page, and see what exactly we're dealing with, and where can we find observations and areas, again, of pain points, and where can we mitigate it.
So as you take over, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but I'm going to say as you take over the assets of the plan, what do you do with those assets?
So what we'll do is we'll put a settlement factor together on the plan. Say, okay, this is what it's going to cost you to completely terminate the plan, and that's being done through a single premium group annuity. So it's a single premium group annuity, one-time purchase of that annuity to transfer those obligations irrevocably.
Okay.
So, and even just to understand what that terminal funding amount is, creates a clearer picture for the plan sponsor of, okay, what's our actual target? What do we need to be aiming towards in order to get there? Because a lot of plans you'll find are kind of circling the drain, we call it, or making the minimum payment on your credit card. There are a lot of different analogies that we can use for the pension plan. But how do we get out of it sooner? How do we alleviate those costs? And then on the flip side, where can we put those savings to work? For our active employees, where can we, reallocate those funds within the business?
So it's kind of like, are we looking at, basically we're looking at defined benefit plans, no doubt. Now, so once you transfer the assets over to your single premium group annuity, are those assets in individual participant names or company name, or how does that work?
Well, the assets will go towards purchasing the group annuity.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens? So kind of walk me through the steps. An employee retires.
Mm-hmm.
How does that employee then get his portion of that annuity? Just distributed out to him or her?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of different situations here, but you're saying the retiree has retired after the termination's taken place, or?
Yeah, let's just say that, even though I really don't know.
Okay. Well, so if the plan's already fully been terminated, then obviously all the retirees are taken care of under the group annuity.
Okay.
The term vesteds were offered a lump sum. Maybe some did not elect the lump sum, so they would have defaulted into the annuity. And then your active participants are then given the ability to do what they wish with their portions, whether it be roll into the 401k if the company has a K plan.
Okay.
Maybe roll into an IRA.
Okay. So what should the advisors be on the lookout for? What types of questions should they be asking of their plan sponsor clients?
So the one thing I would look at, and I mean, there are a lot of different questions you can ask, and depending on where they are in the process, have you frozen your pension plan? What are your plans moving forward? Do you have any idea what your annuitization cost is? Have you gone to the full market of insurance carriers to find out what your terminal funding target is? Maybe we could take a look at their funding percentage right now, and we can easily look at public information on the 5500 and see if there's a differential where they're being charged the variable rate premium. That's always a good thing to point out. Because, like I said, those numbers are going up. We're up to almost, I think, $750 per participant if you're paying both a flat and variable rate premium. So think about that as a carrying cost for your retirees.
Are most defined benefit plans already in annuities? I don't even know that myself. Or are they just in other types of investments?
It varies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think they'd more or less be an annuity. That's kind of my gut feeling. What percentage would be? Or am I wrong?
Not entirely. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have that information.
Okay.
But no, not necessarily.
Okay. And why would a company want to work with you to terminate, to remove the financial administrative burdens of their defined benefit plans? What's in it for them?
Quite simply, our model has always been we want to provide the value first. We don't charge for our consulting. So we're going to come in and we're going to show you some observations you may not have seen, some things to think about, some things to talk about with your team, just considerations. Why not have an independent look? We had a call last week actually with a credit union. They came to us because they desperately wanted to speak to someone who did not have a tie to the book of business. They felt that was very important because, naturally, there's no conflict of interest. Now they're just getting expert advice from an independent outside source.
Right.
And they're completely now open-minded to anything that we had to say, basically because they ran into an issue with lump sums and they got caught off guard that there was a big surprise. They weren't expecting, which triggered, this conversation. But it's always best to be proactive and just have everything out on the table.
So a company would want to work with you because they're just finding it just so difficult to continue with that defined benefit plan, taking too much time, costing them too much money, too much of a headache. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That would be the obvious. But then on the flip side, it's always interesting to get the response, wow, I didn't know we could do that. Yeah,
and they don't know. And the advisors may not know either.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that, we've educated 5,000 advisors since 2013. About half of them have earned our certificate so far. And I'm sure many of them already currently deal with defined benefit plan sponsors. And they don't know some of the issues that relate that the sponsors are looking at, the financial issues, administrative issues. And so having a discussion with you can really help the advisor to understand what's going on there and how they can better help their clients.
Absolutely. And that's no fault of theirs, because the investment lineup is completely separate from what we're talking about.
It is. Ian, how can somebody contact you? I'm just curious to know.
They can, old school, write me a letter.
Write your letter, like in Seinfeld, where they write letters because they don't really have email that back then. We talked about Seinfeld earlier today. That's why I brought it up. Or cell phones back then either. They do have phones in their cars, I believe. Go ahead.
If they want to look me up by my name, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. If you wanted to send me a message or had questions, wanted to meet up for coffee if you're in the Philadelphia suburbs. But we do work nationally, so I'm always happy to fly around the country too. So
I'm really surprised you are doing this with me today because you know what's going on Sunday. I mean, are you going to be taking the rest of the day off?
I put a poll out on LinkedIn actually, whether or not the following Monday should be a holiday after the Super Bowl.
Kind of depends who wins.
It depends who wins. I guess it always depends who's playing. Maybe those states.
Kind of who's playing. I mean, even if you guys win, definitely. Even if you guys lose by chance, having the next day off after a rough night of drinking your sorrows away. But I'm not rooting for either one team. Cincinnati fan. You didn't enjoy that Kansas City beat us, but that's the way life goes.
Yeah, I like Mahomes, but I like our chances better.
So, Ian, what's the minimum asset size of the defined benefit plan that you'd be taking on?
When we classify the small to mid market where we play most, we're looking at plan size of about $5 million up to about $150 million. Okay. And we'll have outliers in there. We've worked on plans that are $500 million.
Okay. So really, $5 million plan, it's peanuts. I'm sure most plans fit that asset range.
They do. Yeah. And the micro market would be underneath that. I mean, we had a call this morning, and just a handful of retirees it might be $100,000. We work on an individual basis as well. I mean, there's really there's no size limit, great or small.
Okay.
We want to work with the client to make sure that they're going about it the right way.
Is this like a niche market that advisors that may not be in it now may have an interest in looking at in the future?
I would think so. I mean, the market's like I mentioned, the market's definitely grown.
Okay.
Tremendously since I'd say 2012 when General Motors did quite a big lift out.
Okay.
And I think there's opportunity there.
I used to work with GE, and I was in the employee benefits department. I remember working with their defined benefit plans. So,
Okay.
So you told me one time when we talked last, I think, that you do look at the publicly filed 5500s to determine some prospects for you. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we do have a database of plans in a way that we prospect and look for opportunities, whether they're frozen plans that are looking to exit or they're active plans looking to just clean up their retiree liability.
Is that a way for current advisors to get into this market by reviewing 5500s to see what type of plans are out there?
I think it's a great way. I think it's a great way to understand where the defined benefit plans are in the country or in your area or in your region.
Okay.
Maybe you have a relationship with a company and didn't even know it. And if you could offer this introduction, I think it's a feather in your cap.
Are most of the plans frozen at this point, or are they still active?
Probably said the majority have been frozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think so. I know it's tough for companies to have defined benefit plans.
Yeah.
Financial burden is just tremendous. It's huge.
Of course. Yeah. You do see a lot more cash balance plans being created now.
Okay.
In the defined benefit space, but obviously we're having the conversation on the DC side and replacing pension benefit in the 401k.
So besides financial advisors, what other professionals do you want to get to work with? You mentioned third-party administrators.
Yeah, TPAs have come to us looking for solutions. Absolutely. CPAs.
CPAs probably know because they do the 5500s.
They do.
Well,
but surprisingly,
maybe.
Yeah. So, and their focus is audit and tax, but now CPAs now adding an advisory arm. So I think that this falls in that advisory arm where they can say, oh, hey, we
and honestly, I don't think CPAs want to do these types of 5500s. I did tax returns for 30 years. I never enjoyed doing 5500s. I have no idea, Ian, if I ever did a 5500 or 990 correctly.
So there you go. So grow your advisory practice by getting rid of your audit.
Yeah, getting rid of those tax filings. Larger firms, they've got the expertise. I was a small guy.
They'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. Yeah.
So financial advisors, TPA, CPAs, anyone doing tax returns would be good for you.
Legal counsel, anybody working with employee benefits, risk counsel.
Now, you mentioned the government premium. What do you call that again?
The PBGC.
PBGC.
Yeah, the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation.
How much is that nowadays?
They can be as much as $748 per head.
So that's the $750 you were talking about earlier.
Correct. I think it's.
I didn't quite catch that. I see.
Yeah. If you add the salary and the variable.
What was it 10 years ago?
So I'd have to pull up the map.
About.
Probably maybe half that.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe doubled or tripled. Okay. I wish I had it in front of me. I'm not.
That's
prepared.
okay. So let's say it's half. No big deal. Why is it grown? Why is it doubled 10 years? Lots of defined benefit plans are they defaulting?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good guess.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We don't like to see that, and actually, we had the privilege of helping someone. Was it 2 years ago? Last year. We ended up closing it. They almost had to hand the plan over to the PBGC, but we were able to help them over about a year and a half.
Okay.
Go through a traditional settlement of the plan.
Got it. Yeah, I didn't realize it got up to $750. Because, honestly, Ian, I really didn't have any idea how much it was. You could have said 1,000. You could have said 250. I wouldn't have known. Yeah,
when you have some companies that are carrying 1,000 retirees in their defined benefit plan, well, there's $750,000 of cost that you're throwing out the window.
I find what you do very exciting, quite a niche that I think advisors need to be aware of. And even if they're already in this space, it's so great to be able to connect with you and talk about the opportunities to remove the financial administrative burden for the sponsors of their defined benefit plans. Besides connecting with you, Ian, on LinkedIn, phone number, email address you'd like to give out?
Absolutely. Do you want to send that out after this? You want me to just...
You can go out and say what it is. Aaron will throw that in there.
Okay, yeah. You can reach me at 610-279-9455, and my extension is 130. You can also email me at ian.koteles, Koteles, at dietrichannuity.com.
What else does Dietrich do?
Oh, my gosh. You want to go into all that, too?
Well, just give me that. I don't really know much about Dietrich. What else do you guys do?
And that's a great question, because this is really all we do. And that's why we're considered a specialist.
Okay.
We do have a sister company that is part of the thought leadership in putting the pension back in, or putting the pension into the 401k.
Okay.
So we are excited about conversations that we're having on the other side of the fence. But
okay.
When having conversations with people, I think the most important thing is that we don't consult on anything else but pension risk.
It's like I don't consult anything else besides Social Security. Definitely.
There you go. Yeah.
You guys work nationwide?
We work nationwide. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you, Ian, for being on today's Social Security Talk podcast. I think the information you provided is great, very dynamic, and I think it's an area that advisors need to be aware of. They may not even know these opportunities exist. And if they do work with defined benefit plan sponsors, they need to talk to these sponsors about how, the financial administrative burden and how their sponsors are dealing with these types of issues. And definitely that cost is $750 per participant.
That's a good way to look at it. Good way to gauge it.
Ian, any final comments you'd like to make?
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, Marc.
Well, now that you're on today's webinar, Ian, podcast, I will definitely be rooting for the Eagles to win. How does that sound?
Oh, right.
Thank you, Ian, for being on today's podcast, Social Security Talk podcast. And I want to thank everybody for watching or listening on your time. And I'm sure we'll be getting another one out over the next 2-3 weeks. Again, Ian, thank you. And this now ends today's podcast.
Great. Thanks, Marc.
Thank you.